What profession do you find unhealthy? I imagine trucking comes with a lot of problems. My grandfather was a trucker his whole life. He started his own business and raised 3 kids off of trucking. It killed him. Sleep deprivation, sitting still for 10+ hours at a time, an endless stream of black coffee and later energy drinks to stay alert, eating nothing but fast food and truck stop fare. And even when he was home, the phone rang non-stop, usually brokers asking him to run another load from BA to CA. And to top it all off, he would be gone for weeks at a time, missing significant chunks of his children's lives. And all of this, just to enjoy retirement for 2 years before dying of total kidney failure. Damn, I'm so sorry. Yeah, my grandpa had 2 mild heart attacks, both definitely related to his work, but he loved it. When it came time to pass the trucking business down to my dad, after seeing how it had wrecked his own dad, he said hell no. First thing that came to mind. Aside from the sitting for long periods and terrible food, a lot of people in trucking pick up vices that are harmful and hard to kick. Many end up using tobacco/tons of energy drinks to keep themselves occupied and alert. I was for a day monster drinker and chain smoking. Just stopped trucking about 3 weeks ago and am actually doing well at quieting smoking, vaping to quit, and my caffeine intake is like 1/4 of what it was. The biggest thing I felt trucking was just immense stress. A small mistake or lapse in judgment could be catastrophic or fatal, so while I was driving for 12 hours I was always in a hyper-aware state. Even if it wasn't physical, I would be mentally drained, and that compounded over the years to where I finally felt I needed to quit because my anxiety was getting unmanageable. Farmers. My dad was exposed to toxic herbicides/pesticides, and his doctors attributed his terminal stomach cancer to his decades of exposure. I knew a kid that got run over by a combine. There was nothing left of him except for some shreds of clothing. Absolutely. I'm a farmer on a very small organic farm that is extremely safety conscious. We do our best. But it's still scary to constantly be around heavy machinery and do necessary upkeep and construction work while keeping insane hours. You know what's really fucked up though? Farms are some of the only employers in the USA who don't have to provide workman's comp. Even though farming is one of the top 20 most dangerous professions. The child labor laws are also absurdly lax. Gotta keep the country fed. Yes, unfortunately, yes. I knew a couple whose both families had been in farming for generations. She begged him to get out and told me why, in hushed tones, even though we were alone in her house. It's the chemicals. We know too many farm families who've had cancer, but no one will talk about it because it's their livelihoods. And she had tears in her eyes. Fast forward a few years, and a farmer I knew had a 29-year-old daughter die very quickly from stomach cancer. I just knew it was from something on their farm. I'm not a doctor, but I believe some people are more susceptible to these chemicals. Bartending. There are so many alcoholics on both sides of the bar you become friends with. It can be difficult to keep yourself in check. I was a bartender before I became an ER nurse. Sometimes I miss bartending. It was easier to watch people drink themselves to death than watch good people get denied the care they deserve. Most types of mining are hazardous to health. I know cobalt is one of the worst for you though, if not the worst. One that came to my mind was sulfur mining. I saw a YouTube video about sulfur mining and it really put things in perspective for me. Just got awful work, and they have to buy their own PPE, so of course they use t-shirts as face masks. BC, they can't afford proper ones, and they're treated as contractors, so they have no protection from price changes or workplace injuries. Really awful. Sex work. IDC, how progressive you are. It's incredibly dangerous. Yup, my mother was a prostitute. Me and my sisters were born into it. I'm talking about hookers. When you're walking up and down the blade all hours of the night, praying you don't get some Ted Bundy motherfucker that's going to knock all your teeth out and eat you after he fucks your corpse. Sitting outside of your motel trying to coax men into dating you. I've been knocked out, guns held to my head, raped many times to count, robbed, threatened, almost arrested in a sting, and have had to run for my life. I know everyone's story is different. How they got there and why they're doing it, but to hear women glorifying being sex workers, I can assure you those girls have not lived through hell, or they haven't been burnt. My life would be very different if I had OnlyFans. You choose what to do. It's all virtual unless you want to date outside of the internet, but you have that choice. Being beautiful and talented enough to build an escort portfolio and have some protection under the services, even working for a legal brothel. Nothing is black and white. I'm just speaking on having a choice going into that lifestyle. This is about the people who don't. It took me almost 14 years to get out of that shit. I'm 31 now. If you're living life without being hurt getting the money and having a support system, go for it. I personally hate prostitution and porn. I think it's a fucked up way to live. The only thing I enjoyed was meeting new people all the time, and some of those men were the coolest, kindest out of this world guys from all over the planet. I'm a curious person, so I learned a lot of things. A client I had was a geoengineer and taught me how to wild forage. I ended up doing commercial mushrooming and am very comfortable outdoors because of him and his knowledge. I learned shit that people pay to be taught. No. The sex was never good. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to see more cool stories. Write your impressions in the comments. See you soon.